What's up guys? Welcome to my very first video on crypto where I'll be talking about the ultimate PONZU that is Olympus Dao. I've been meaning to do this video for a while as I'd like to niche down the channel to see if it will help with the growth. And whilst I was a crypto skeptic for a long time, there's just so much exciting stuff being built in the DeFi space that I couldn't resist. Which brings me to OHM. The ultimate meme coin that's stolen the hearts of degens all over the world with its insanely high APY and inspired a whole new world of forks such as Klima, Time, Rome and Redacted. If you haven't heard the name OHM, you've probably seen the notorious 33 meme which has been shared all over the web and Twitter. Even Elon's ex Grimes has been seen saluting Olympus. And whilst mainstream media like Bloomberg refers to it as the ultimate Ponzi scheme, there's a lot more to it than that. But before I begin, let me first tell you how I found out about Olympus. Let's do this! Okay, so several months back I started thinking about whether or not it would be possible to create an algorithmic stablecoin, and when I went down the research rabbit hole I ended up discovering Olympus Dao. Now when I went to the website I saw that the staking APY was over 7,000%. Yes, you heard that right, 7,000%. Of course, I'm usually pretty skeptical of insane APYs as these tend to be associated with microcap pump and dumps. But when I looked at OHM's market cap, it was over $800 million. So I'm asking myself, how the hell could a project with an $800 million market cap be paying 7,000% in rewards? To put that into perspective, if you put $1,000 into OHM, after 1 year you'd have $70,000. That is of course assuming that the price of OHM remains the same and the reward rate is constant. We'll touch on that a bit later. But after doing that calculation and being the degenerate I am, I decided to jump into OHM. Initially, I bought just one OHM to stake it and to help me learn more about the project. At the time, this was about $400 plus gas, which cost me another $150. But I thought, what the hell, I'll make that back in a few weeks. Now, what I was really doing was bookmarking the project psychologically so I would be forced to learn more about it. And sure enough, after a couple of days, I started diving into the docs to better understand what exactly is OHM and how on earth can it not be a Ponzi. Olympus Dao is a decentralized finance protocol which markets itself as a decentralized reserve currency. Its aim is to create a free-floating reserve currency, OHM, that is backed by a basket of assets. Assets. This is similar to the idea of a gold standard, except that OHM is backed by other decentralized assets, such as stablecoins like Frax, which provide a free-floating value that users can always fall back on. So in theory, each OHM is backed by one DAI. DAI being an algorithmic stablecoin which is pegged to the US dollar. The treasury has since expanded to include assets like Ethereum, but still the mechanics behind the protocol imply that the protocol would buy back and burn OHM if and when it ever trades below one DAI. Whilst on the other hand, OHM could always trade above one DAI because there is no upper limit imposed by the protocol. So where does the treasury come from? Well, this is where OHM gets interesting. Olympus has a feature called bonding, where users can buy OHM directly from the treasury at a discount to the current market price. The treasury can mint one OHM for every DAI held by the treasury. So, market participants are incentivized to buy OHM at a discount to the current market price, whilst the treasury is motivated to sell OHM at a premium above one DAI. This process is called signage, and it's enabled the treasury to suck in assets totaling over $750 million at present and climbing. At a high level, the treasury is split into two parts: liquidity pools and risk-free value. Risk-free value is the underlying backing per OHM. If the treasury stops taking in assets today and stopped minting OHM, this is the value of assets in the treasury per OHM in circulation. Liquidity pools are, well, liquidity pools. The treasury puts equal parts OHM and DAI into a pool on a decentralized exchange to provide liquidity for buyers and sellers of OHM. Now, until recently, this was quite unique to OHM, as traditionally protocols would need to incentivize third parties to provide liquidity, which left the protocol at the mercy of these third parties. They're essentially renting liquidity and have to provide incentives to do so. Because of its treasury and bonding, OHM flipped this on its head and said, forget it, we'll own our own liquidity. Which was a great move because now they earn all the fees as a liquidity provider. They don't have to pay out high farming rewards to incentivize liquidity providers. Instead, they pay out staking rewards to holders, and they can guarantee the market that the liquidity is always there to facilitate buy and sell orders. You might be thinking that's great for the treasury, but how does it benefit holders? Well, that's where staking comes in. When you buy and stake OHM, you capture a percentage of the supply which theoretically will remain close to a constant because your staked OHM balance increases along with the circulating supply. In other words, you earn rewards in the form of new OHM, which is issued to stakers every epoch, which is roughly every 8 hours. And this is where the insanely high APY comes into play. APY stands for annual percentage yield. It measures the real rate of return on your principal by taking into account the effect of compounding interest. In the case of Olympus Dao, your staked OHM represents your principal, and the compound interest is added periodically on every epoch. Because of this, your balance grows exponentially over time. At the current APY, your balance doubles roughly every 2 months, which means that even if the price of OHM were to fall 50%, you'd still be break even. This compounding effect makes the price of OHM almost irrelevant over the long term, although some might argue otherwise. But what would happen if there was a bank run on OHM? Well, here's where the gigabrains at OHM put game theory to play. With OHM, your funds are not protected by regulators, but it does have an incentive structure that protects its stakers. And someone from the Olympus community kindly provided a full-on breakdown of this scenario on Discord. Here's how it would play out. In the case of a theoretical bank run on OHM, we assume that the majority of stakers would panic and unstake their tokens from Olympus. The staking percentage, which stands at roughly 92%, would quickly collapse to 3.3%, leaving only 210,000 OHM staked. Next, you assume that the risk-free value inflows to the treasury completely dry up. Finally, you assume that those last standing stakers bought in at an average price of $500 per OHM. The initial investment of these stakers would be $105 million, but the current risk-free value of the treasury is approximately $195 million. Remember that every OHM is backed by one DAI. So over the course of 1 year, the protocol would continue to mint OHM until there was 195 million OHM in circulation, meaning the remaining stakers almost double their money in 12 months. But OHM isn't just about 3.3, there's a lot more to it, and the DAO has continued to innovate and ship new products. So what does the future look like for OHM? How the hell should I know? I'm not psychic. But I am loving the pace at which the team is launching new initiatives which add new revenue streams to the treasury. One of which is bonding as a service, which is where Olympus is helping other protocols launch their very own protocol-owned liquidity. For doing so, Olympus charges a fee of 3.3% in the protocol's native currency, thus building up diversified treasury reserves and aligning long-term incentives with its partners. That sums up Olympus. If I fluffed any of the information, let me know in the comments. It's a lot to take in, and I myself am still learning every day. Nonetheless, what you're really here for, I suppose, is to know exactly how much money I make from OHM. But just before I reveal my secret stash, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, so once I'd learned enough about OHM, I aped in. I ended up putting in close to $40,000 as I got more and more confident in the project. Today I have just over 250 OHM, and at the current APY I'm making over 2 OHM per day, and I'll earn about 80 OHM in the next 30 days. Now the current price is around $300, which means I'll make $24,000 in the next month, or about $800 per day. This does of course assume that the price remains stable, and God knows it's been bloody volatile of late. We've seen highs of $1,300 per OHM and lows of $280, so nothing is for certain. My plan for this is to just let it ride. I did consider taking out my initial investment once my stake had doubled, but I'm enjoying the compound effects way too much to take anything off the table, and I'm comfortable with the risk. There are also plans for the DAO to reduce the APY gradually for the sake of long-term project stability, and the DAO has already begun to reduce the APY down to 1000%. Some people are a little panicked by this and think the price will tank further. Personally, I'm happy to wait and see. I think a reduction in APY may even have a positive impact on price and increase adoption as the reward rate decreases and there's less selling pressure. Before I go, I'll share a quick tutorial on how to buy and stake your OHM for anyone that's interested. The cheapest way to do this now is with AVAX on Trader Joe, where you can buy GOHM, which is the governance token for OHM and is effectively a basket of SOHM. SOHM is staked OHM, which is the rebase token that earns rewards. 1 GOHM is the equivalent of the index value times OHM. The index value being the number of OHM you'd have if you had staked your OHM since inception. It's always a good idea to check prices on multiple dexes before you go ahead and buy any OHM. Whilst gas fees are a lot higher on Ethereum, you may have more liquidity and therefore better prices, which would offset the benefit of buying through AVAX. Now this is going to totally depend on the amount that you're buying, but do your own research as always, because this is not investment advice. And that's all from me, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please smash that like button. That's a wrap.